everybody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
So, you want to stop biting in graffiti and you want to develop your own style, something that's unique and exclusive to you. How exactly do we do that? To begin, we first have to understand what style is. That way we know what the goal is. We know where we're headed. And the answer to this is very simple. Style is the exaggeration of the fundamentals. That's all it is. This is applicable to art, music, dancing. It's even applicable to cooking. And to give you a very rough example of that, if we have a burger, we all know what a burger is. You got a patty and a bun. Now, if we want a cheeseburger, we smack some cheese on it, it's a different style of burger. Now, you can throw bacon on there and you got a bacon cheeseburger. Those are also different styles. And once again, art is no different. But here's the catch. The definition of a mistake is very similar to the definition of style as far as art is concerned. The definition of a mistake is when you exaggerate the fundamentals, but you don't maintain the integrity of the fundamentals. So, let's say we went to a restaurant and we said, hey, we want a burger. We're expecting a patty between some buns. But if they come back with soup, that's not a burger. I don't want soup. That's not what I'm looking for. That would be making changes that don't keep the integrity of what it is we're doing. So let's bring this back to graffiti. If we're doing letters and let's say we have a name, right? Well, what name are we doing? We're doing the name Grim? Well, that means I'm doing the letter G-R-I-M. So whatever I do has to have those letters in there. And if I make changes to those letters to where maybe my G becomes an S and my R becomes a K and my I becomes an L, well, suddenly that's not the name Grim anymore. I've made changes that don't keep the integrity of the letter structure. Or maybe I've made changes that don't keep the integrity of the negative space, letter name positioning, flow, and letter name weight. Those would be mistakes. So now that we understand style is the exaggeration of the fundamentals, the question now becomes, what are the fundamentals? And the fundamentals, put simply, are letter structure, negative space management, letter name weight, letter name positioning, and flow. We have tutorials on these on the channel. We have it right up here in the cards. And we also wrote a book about all graffiti's general fundamentals, which you can find in the description down below. Now that's just graffiti's general fundamentals. We also want to learn line, shape, form, value, space, color, texture. And the reason we want to learn those is because those are the elements of art. Those are pivotal to every art form, including graffiti. Think about it. The cleaner our line work is, the cleaner our shapes are going to be. And the cleaner our shapes are, guess what? The cleaner our letters are going to be. But it's a step further than that as well. The more we understand about space, the more we understand how our letters relate to one another. And the more we understand shape, well, once again, that helps us with letter structure, and it also helps us tremendously with our throwies and pieces, as does form. Because if you want to add 3D to your letters, well, guess what? That's a form. It's three-dimensional. That's exactly what a form is. Now, if you want to light your letters and shade them, whether you're doing throwies or pieces, value is going to help you with that as well. So the more you understand the elements of art, the better of an artist you're going to become overall for every single art form in existence. Now, the better you understand graffiti's general fundamentals, well, the more eloquent you're going to be when illustrating your graffiti. The better you're going to be able to translate your ideas in your head to the actual page itself when you're doing your hand styles, throwies, and pieces. But there's one more step, and that's technique. Technique is simply how you utilize tools that are at your disposal and how you perform the art that you're doing. Now, we're all familiar with technique to some degree, right? Let's say we have a spray can and we want to go ahead and do a flare. Well, flaring our spray paint is a technique. But techniques are a little bit more granular than that as well. Techniques are things like how you blend, cross-hatching, hatching, stippling, things of that sort. But techniques can also be using just your wrist to draw, using your elbow to draw, using your shoulder to draw, or in the case of spray paint, using your whole body to draw. That also is technique. All three of these come together to make the fundamentals. So, how do we find a style that is original and unique to us, that really shares what we have to bring to the table, and isn't some amalgamated bite fest from people over years and years? The answer is simple. Study and practice the fundamentals. And as you learn more about this, the more you'll be able to exaggerate them. The more you'll begin to have ideas about how these different fundamentals interact with one another, and how you want them to interact with one another. Then what you'll do is you'll test these ideas out. And with your knowledge of those fundamentals, you'll be able to see what is fundamentally correct and what is not. And the things that aren't, you'll have the knowledge and the information to make fundamental changes and make it work. Once you get it to work, guess what? That's part of your style now too. And the visual end product is your style. That's what style is. Style is the visual representation of this thought process happening. And these thoughts will be unique to you. And as a result, that style will be unique to you. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some things that are just common in graffiti because they are an extension of the letter, and the letter is definitive. So you'll oftentimes see serifs that are, in the same spot or in similar spots. You'll see letter structures that are pretty similar. That's not necessarily biting. But letter structure is only one of 12 fundamentals. You still have line, shape, form, value, space, color, texture, not letter structure, because we already kind of talked about that one, but negative space management, letter name weight, letter name positioning, and flow. You still have all of those other fundamentals to mess with. And that's a lot of variables, because not only is there a lot of depth to each one of those individually, but there's even more depth to how any two of those might interact. And then there's even more depth to how any three of those might interact, so on and so forth. This makes the potential for style pretty much infinite. Like, no human being will ever be able to explore all of those possibilities. Not to mention the fact that you can make any combination of those interact to different degrees, which only expands the potential even more. But it all starts with you learning and studying the basics. And it doesn't go anywhere. You'll never get to that point unless you study and practice the fundamentals. And if you want to get started learning those basics today, pick up our brand new book in the description down below and use this coupon code on screen now. And feel free to check out the best How to Do Graffiti playlist right up here with more graffiti content right down here. And I'll catch you guys back here next week. Thanks for watching.